Intermittent fasting is often thrown around as a magical method to lose weight and keep it off, along with many other claims that it will benefit your health. There was a time when we used to use this method. We even recommended it to clients. But since then, our thoughts about intermittent fasting have changed. Here's why. Hey, it's Aaron from Fossa, and on this channel, we explore the strategies and tools that help us live happier, healthier, and more fulfilled lives. Intermittent fasting works by simply restricting the amount of time that you're eating during the day. You have a period where you don't eat, this is your fast, and then you have a period where you do eat. One of the most common ways of implementing intermittent fasting is the 16:8 ratio. You simply fast for 16 hours, followed by a window of 8 hours where you can eat. This is also the method that we used and that we used to recommend to clients. This method's pretty common because for 8 of the 16 hours of fasting, you're asleep anyway, so you won't be actually eating. Intermittent fasting is really attractive to people because of many of the claimed health benefits. But for the purposes of this video, we're not actually gonna go down that rabbit hole. For losing weight, it's also attractive as well because it helps to reduce the amount of food that you're eating each day. However, for a lot of people, it creates a sense of confusion and frustration, especially when they don't see the results that they'd hoped for. Many of us actually focus so much on the minute details of whether we're supposed to be fasting or eating or how long for, that it takes our focus away from what's really important. Our overall eating habits, how we eat the food and how much food we eat. To lose weight, we must take in less energy than our body uses each day. If we take in more than our body needs, we gain weight. So how does intermittent fasting help with that? Basically, let's say you have this circle, which represents what you eat in a given day. Let's say you have 3 main meals. With intermittent fasting, you're simply eliminating one of these pieces of the pie, and as a result, you eat less overall, causing you to lose weight. The problems start when many people take away one of the slices and make the remaining slices bigger. They eat more at the other meals, therefore bringing the overall daily consumption up again. Once this happens, weight loss stops because you're no longer eating slightly less. You're eating the same or sometimes even more. This then gets really frustrating for people and they start to focus on all the small, minute details that in the grand scheme of things don't even matter. Things such as whether their fasting time is long enough and whether they've missed an opportunity to be in a fat burning zone. Should they fast for a whole day and then have a day of eating? And then what about if they bring another method to the table, such as keto, and then they start doing keto intermittent fasting? All the while, it just gets more and more and more confusing and frustrating and takes your focus away from what's actually important. Eating when you're hungry, and then stopping when you're about 80% full. If following our natural hunger cues leads to weight loss, then following time-based rules that encourage us not to eat, even when we're physically hungry, is actually taking us in the opposite direction, away from what works. If you're wanting to not only lose weight, but be able to keep it off for the rest of your life, and you're still tossing up the idea of whether intermittent fasting is for you, you need to ask yourself, is this something I can see myself doing for the rest of my life? Because whichever method you choose needs to become the new norm. How you lose weight is how you're going to keep it off. So you want to choose something that's easy for you to do and that still allows you the freedom to enjoy yourself. If the answer is no and you can't see yourself doing this in any way, shape or form, then this method is likely something that isn't worth pursuing and your time might be better spent learning things that you will be using, such as changing your eating behaviors and habits. As I mentioned earlier, we used to use intermittent fasting with mixed feelings about it, some pros and some cons of using it. So we used to eat breakfast every single morning without fail. Then when we started introducing intermittent fasting, the 8-hour eating window meant that we were skipping breakfast. This actually led us to discover that we weren't very hungry early in the morning and we were just eating out of habit. So the pro isn't really a pro of intermittent fasting, but it did help us understand our hunger cues a little bit more. Some of the things that we found difficult with intermittent fasting, when we were trying to stick to the rules of intermittent fasting, it was impacting other things such as training, eating out at restaurants, or with friends, etc., especially if it didn't fit within the eating window. And then therefore that would influence the next day's fasting window and it would start to change things around. For example, if your eating window ends at 8 p.m., it makes that 8 p.m. restaurant reservation a bit of an issue. I personally noticed I really started to struggle with my workouts. Some days I train early in the mornings, some days I train in the afternoons. And I was constantly feeling zapped of energy and even feeling lightheaded when I tried to lift heavy weights first thing in the morning. That then started impacting the workout, which meant that I couldn't really do it properly and was counterintuitive. One of the things that Eloise found really challenging was that it just wasn't flexible. Her hunger cues are different day to day, which is normal as a human being. She found that she was focusing so much on the times for fasting and the times for eating that she was completely disregarding what actually matters, focusing on the physical hunger cues that her body was giving her. Most of the days now, she typically follows what would be considered an intermittent fasting style of eating. She often doesn't eat in the morning, but the reason she's not eating in the mornings is because she's not physically hungry, rather than letting some app or time dictate when she can and can't eat. If she wakes up hungry, she eats. She doesn't overcomplicate it. We both found that listening to your physical hunger cues, eating when you're hungry and stopping at the point where you're 80% full, makes this whole process much more simple and easy to follow. You're not constrained by rules, you're not having to worry, you're just listening to your body's physical hunger cues. And that means that you just wait until you're physically hungry before you have something to eat. Sometimes in the mornings, that means we don't eat breakfast. Other times we might wake up hungry, so we will eat breakfast. The point is to become aware of those physical hunger cues as a cue to start eating and also as a cue to stop eating. Learning to stop eating before the point of being full is key to help you avoid overeating, which leads to weight gain. It can take time to learn and for it to become a habit, but once it does, it makes the whole process of losing weight and keeping it off that much easier. So in conclusion, is intermittent fasting needed to lose weight? No. Do we recommend it? No. For the purposes of weight loss, it just simply puts too many rules in place for you to try and follow and to stick to, and it takes your focus away from what's actually important. Following those physical hunger cues, eating when you're hungry, and stopping at 80% full. If you want to learn more about these two specific eating habits that we've talked about in this video, click on this video here to learn more about how to do that. That's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like the video as well as subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like this video here that others have found helpful too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.